Hey, what is up, everybody? Welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. I'm your host, Rockin Robbie Billups, and today is Friday. It's time for the Rex and Robbie Show, where we talk about a topic of the week, and we're going to be tackling a topic tonight that we rarely tackle on this show, the collapse of interest in superhero movies. And we cannot have this discussion on the Rex and Robbie Show without me, Robbie, and of course, without my man, Rex. What is up, my man?
We never talk about this ever. It's such an odd topic for you to come up with, Robbie.
I know, man. I know, but well, there was the Variety article, right? That like caused a lot of this to kind of resurge back into the conversation, right? Where they were asking the question: is Marvel Studios in danger, and is there trouble a brewing? Something we've been talking about for a while here, Rex. And there's yeah, it does. And there's all kinds of things coming in, right? Like we got the story of Mahershala Ali. Potentially at one point he was about to leave the Blade project because he was going to be the fourth most important character in his own movie, right? And then you got the fact that the Marvels, which comes out next week, is like projected to be one of their biggest flops out there. They got their problem with Jonathan Majors, whose trial has started. Now they're like running around. They don't know what to do. Man, it's a mess out there. You know, we talk a lot about DCEU and their mess, but do Marvel's in it right now? What do you think, Rex?
Well, I think that they've become a victim of their own success through the years. So I guess it's kind of like this. Best analogy I can make. You have one kid, you have two kids, you have three kids. You can manage. Now all of a sudden you got 10 kids. Now it's a whole different ball game. I guess when my daughter was little, my ex-wife and I went out to dinner. I think it was Friendly's or something, right? And there was another family there, and man, there was a lot of them. And when we all left at the same time, right? So we put her in a car seat, buckle her up. My brother had a 14-passenger van, which I assumed was a family vehicle, because how was he gonna get all these kids in there? And then I started thinking, my one kid going out to dinner at that age was a challenge. You know, a lot of things going on. 10? I don't know how you manage that. And I think unfortunately the MCU has kind of reached that point. You know, it was easy when it was Iron Man. It was easy when it was just the Avengers storyline, you know, culminating in Endgame. Then all of a sudden you went and popped out 10 more kids. And now you're trying to get them to all like not get lost in the zoo on the busiest day of the year. I kind of feel like that's where they're at. So now you got all these storylines all interconnected, and you know something goes wrong with Jonathan Majors. Okay, now that really throws everything off, because Kang was going to be the main bad guy. Well, now you got this PR issue with Majors, and I'm not saying he did it, he didn't do it, but clearly, you know, taking a page out of that book with Flash, and seeing what happened with Ezra Miller, you've got to think that the execs at MCU are going, well, we don't want that. We don't want to carry that baggage around. But now what? You've written Kang as the pivotal bad guy throughout everything, and the actor is somebody you can't, you know, there's talk about it. You can just swap them out. But
Comcast is hitting you, Rex.
How that
Comcast is hitting you, Rex.
That's hit or miss. When you do that, when you take a major, they got kind of a pass. The dude died. You know, now you're on delay, so that's got to mean I'm on delay. Yes,
sir.
Team Comcast, gotta love them. You love those. I've been Comcasted. Oh boy, I swear.
Yep, this is everybody's favorite bit.
All right,
Barry.
so where am I back? Am I not? Yeah, am I back? Am I not back?
I think you're back. Say something.
I'm guessing I'm not. I just did, so I'm guessing I'm not.
Okay,
back.
You're on a little bit of a delay, but yeah, you are there.
All right, so oh man, I hate. All right, I'm gonna need 10 minutes to bash Comcast now. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I thought Disney was buying Hulu from Comcast.
Yeah, I think that's what I heard as well. Disney's taking over Hulu.
Yeah, it's going to be like $8 billion or something they're going to have to pay out for it.
I guess, but I
All right.
I think
Celia was up in the chat and he had asked, do we think that Marvel should stop doing the TV shows? What do you think, Rex?
they're not going to. See, I think that the one thing everybody has to remember is the main motivation here is money. And once you've put it out there, it's almost impossible to pull back. Would that be the smart thing to do? Probably. All right, ride out the fatigue. But are they going to do that? Probably not. They're going to keep throwing it up against the wall to see what sticks. So I don't know. But clearly they've created a situation where they've got too many things going. They've got the whole Jonathan Majors thing going on, and now it's coming unraveled. So again, with Harry Potter, when who was the original actor for Dumbledore? I forget his name.
Richard Harris.
When Richard Harris died, I think there was that next movie. What was it?
Prisoner of Azkaban was the one after he died.
Was the one after he died. Okay, so I think there was an adjustment period, right? People are like hemming and hawing a little bit, but I think there was a pass because what are you going to do? Richard Harris died, so we could say that he's not as good, but do you want more Harry Potter movies or not? And everybody overwhelmingly said, yeah, we do. So you had to look past that and give Coltrane, right, a shot at it.
It was Michael Gambon or Gambon. Yeah.
Oh, that's right, Michael Gambon. No, Robbie Coltrane is Hagrid. So you kind of had to you kind of had to just accept it and kind of deal with it. So I felt like they had an easier time. With Majors, I don't know what you're going to do. See?
Yeah.
It's
well, one of the rumors right now, Rex, is that they're trying to take their plans for Kang and apply it to Doctor Doom, which immediately makes me go, okay, hold on. Now are you going to rush into Doctor Doom because you already have these plans laid out for somebody else and you're going to try to fit it in? But I don't know, they have slowed up. Obviously, they've had to slow up because of all the strikes going on, right? So I think that's kind of been a benefit for them where they've been able to kind of sit back and think about some of this stuff. We were talking about this, I guess, a couple weeks ago about the Daredevil situation, when they were like, no, this isn't good enough. We're going to break it all down. Dude, they've gone through like 5 different sets of writers and directors for this Blade movie. I mean, you got a guy who's like an Academy Award-winning actor signed up, and you're like just basically dicking him around. No wonder he was thinking about walking off the project, right?
I think that was a mistake. I think that Blade had the opportunity to kind of be what Pattinson's Batman was. Kind of, okay, we can figure out if we're going to work it into the MCU or not. But let's just make an independent movie based on this character and give it a flair, something self-contained like the Pattinson Batman. I don't know how it's going to work out with the MCU. We've talked about it, on the show. But what I do know is, irregardless of little things, I like the muscle car Batman, Batmobile. Some people did, but ultimately it was different enough, detached enough from the DCEU that it could stand on its own. And I think Blade had that opportunity to kind of bring everybody back. So I think the jury's out. We don't know how Batman's going to work in the DCU or any of that. But we can say that if you put another Batman movie, Pattinson movie out, we'll probably watch it. Because the first one was good enough. You know what I'm saying? So I think they could have done that with Blade. But they kind of missed their chance.
Yeah, now the movie's like allegedly coming out in 2025. It was initially revealed that they were doing the Blade movie. His casting was revealed, I think, in 2019. And anytime that we got one of these superhero movies that's taken like 7+ years to make, Black Adam, Flash, doesn't seem to work out so well, does it, Rex?
No, it doesn't. I mean, they should look at that Flash example and learn from it. Not Black Panther, but Blade, I would push to the forefront. Because I think that has a chance to be an independent success with the right storyline. And then
which is what Iron Man was at first, right?
Yeah, and you can kind of leave it loose ends at the end if you want to tie it back into the MCU later. But it can stand on its own as a good movie, I think. I really do. With Ali, as a lead, It's a fascinating story. People like vampires. It's kind of a drift away from the traditional multiverse. Superheroes. We're all going to be part of the Avengers stuff. Now, I've also heard rumors they're going to go back to the original Avengers crew and try to make another movie, bring them back. I think that's a mistake. Okay, you're just trying to pound the same formula that's brought you here. Okay, all right, nothing else is working. Let's bring the old crew back, throw them into a storyline. We'll multiverse it. It'll be great.
Yeah, that's basically like going backwards, right, Rex?
Well, I just don't think that's going to happen. All right, if Thor: Love and Thunder was an example of it, you took a key player in the core Avengers and tried to make another independent movie, and it was horrible. And you certainly had a star-studded cast. Okay, Russell Crowe. I mean, who wasn't in that movie? And still, it didn't work. So I don't think going back to the original core Avengers and making a movie is going to help. I think it's going to probably make things worse.
Introspectim says the failures are not the characters, but how they are written. For instance, with this Blade news, with this idea that like Blade would have been the fourth main character in a Blade movie and that the movie was set up to focus on these other characters and highlight them or whatnot. That's a terrible mistake for a movie called Blade, especially when you like made everybody excited when they announced Mahershala Ali as Blade. Like I love the Blade movies. I was so into that news. And now we're just like, the more and more that this project lingers, the more and more faith, like the less and less faith I have in it. And apparently Ali too. That's a dumb thing to do. They also said it was going to be filled with life lessons. Oh yeah, that's what made those Wesley Snipes movies a success, right? Where all the life lessons we learned in Blade.
Yeah, that's where I go to. I don't watch Oppenheimer or anything like that, or even Barbie for life lessons. I watch the MCU because I want to be prepared for being sucked into the multiverse at any moment. I mean, like, really? This is, you talk about moving away from your core, call it what you will, that made you a success. Now you're going to give life lessons. Okay, it's like those schoolyard rock, movies with or shorts that we used to have on Saturday mornings. Schoolhouse Rock, right? Yeah. Like, come on, okay, that, all right, I'm a Bill. All right, you're teaching life lessons, fine. Okay, that's what you're structured for. I am not looking to the MCU to give me life lessons. All right, I'm too old for that. I'm looking for the MCU to give me an engaging, entertaining, well-written movie. Develop some of the characters, please. And can we move away from the multiverse? Not everything in the MCU has to be connected all the time. I think that's the other problem. You're trying to connect things all the time. You're trying to take these great stories and interconnect all of them. Man, you're losing them. You're losing all of us.
I like this comment from Papa Kin Comics. He says, honestly, the only answer for Marvel to be successful is slow the F down, make a few movies a year, maybe 1 or 2 television shows, make it last for another 10 years. Yeah, I think they should. I mean, I think that would benefit them a lot. Slow down, focus on the quality over the quantity. And like you were saying, Rex, not everything has to always be immediately tied in and setting something else up. Maybe you need to go back to that formula where you just try to make good, solid movies with the potential to lead into something else, not the necessity to lead into something else.
Yeah, I think they're really making a huge mistake with Blade, because I think Blade could have kind of dragged maybe the MCU a little bit out of this pit that they're in. And because the Blade character is so interesting, right? The Daywalker, there's so much to be explored with that. So many things that you could do that I think that the Wesley Snipes movie may have missed. The first one, there was no way they could do it. The second one, by the third one, it was crap. All right, they had jumped the shark. They didn't really try to develop the character. They just tried to extend what was working in the first two.
Just to remind everybody, when we're live here on PCP Land, there is no such thing as Blade 3. It just never happened. We just never discuss it. It's like Fight Club, Rex.
All right, hold on. So Amy is watching. Hi, Amy. All right, so Amy had to text me her 2 cents. So I will put my Amy hat on, and I will give you her 2 cents. Watching you and Robbie, my 2 cents, literally, here's her 2 cents. If Marvel takes a real break and reworks everything, they can make their way back to the top. Still thinks that more good things than bad things have come out of the past two phases. And people not need to stop being so negative and claim that something is going to automatically fail. Well, that's definitely Amy. Proof of life. Okay. So that's Amy's 2 cents on it. I don't disagree or agree with her. I think our perspectives are different. Amy is going to come more on a positive side. Let's give it a chance. Let it come out. Marcus, because I had to put my Amy hat on. Amy's not here today, but she was watching and had her opinion and texted it to me, so I had to read it out loud because she is going to come back, and she'll be mad at me if I didn't do that. So, but I really think it's something that we've been talking about for a while now. Is the answer really just the fatigue? And that's why I'm saying Blade had a chance to be something else. You know, and to make the Blade character in a Blade movie the 4th most important character in the movie, I don't even get that. Okay, it's almost as if you're using the Blade movie as one big commercial for whatever you have in the next phase. When you need to realize that, best analogy, it's like a baseball team worried about what they're going to do in the World Series when they haven't gotten out of the the pennant race yet. It's like you got to finish this game before you can think about the next game, guys.
Yeah.
Because if you don't win this game, there is no next game. And I think that that's what Marvel's missing right now. You're trying to make the Blade movie with the thought of the next movie after Blade. Dude, you're losing the game right now. You better hit some dingers or something to turn this around. And Blade, I think, could have been that. But we'll see. Now who knows what they're doing.
Figure Drawing's been making some good points throughout the chat, and I don't want anybody to think that we're saying DC is doing better. Like, no, historically, Marvel has definitely kicked DC's ass when it's come to movies in the last 20 years, right? We've talked many times here about the failure of the DCEU. They probably got one more big disappointment to come with Aquaman 2, right? But Marvel's feeling it too, right? And because of Marvel's success, the MCU is literally the most successful film franchise of all time. Nobody's made the amount of money that those films have made collectively. It is insane. So that's why it's such a thing to see how so quickly it starts, like how quickly like this happened.
Like the DCU, the DCEU is like that neighbor whose yard's always trash. The MCU is like that perfect neighbor. Now all of a sudden their yard is trash too. So I guess it's not that DCU is doing any better. Our expectations, I guess, are lower for them than they are for the MCU. So that's why it's kind of surprised that they're both failing. But does that mean something? The fact that they're both struggling like this, is that indicative of the genre is just tapped? You guys have beat this horse with you're beating a dead horse with a stick, is what I'm kind of saying. You need to take a different turn, because essentially all the movies have been really the same. Different characters, different bad guy, but essentially the same movie over and over and over again. And I think that's really the problem. They're trying to work their way out of it using characters, actors, whatever. We're not realizing that the writing is your biggest problem right now. Each movie is the same as the next. What is the real difference between Ant-Man and Wasp, their multiverse, and Doctor Strange and his multiverse? There is no difference, really. It's the same plot line, the same story. The multiverse, screwing everything up.
Yeah. So let's switch gears a little bit to the Marvels here. So the Marvels, and Figure had some numbers up there. He said that it's estimated to open up around 80 million. I will tell you, though, that they are gearing up for a failure with the Marvels. There is very little hype about it out there. There's not a lot of chatter going on for this to be so close. I mean, y'all remember not too long ago whenever there was a Marvel movie, it felt like a big event. It felt like it was all we were leading up in anticipation. Everybody was waiting to go. Everybody was talking about it. That is not the case with the Marvels. Now, I know I liked the Miss Marvel show. I'm rather excited to see this movie, but it ain't the same level of collective excitement that we used to have for these movies, and that's definitely been waning. And the other thing, and this is something that Rex likes to point out a lot here too, how the studios define success is different than how we as viewers define success. This movie was supposed to come out before Ant-Man, but they were having some problems with it, so they delayed the movie, thereby making that movie cost more, which also in turn made Ant-Man have to come out like 4 or 5 months earlier than they wanted to, which probably led to a rush of post-production. Now, this movie has been in pre-production and production and then post-production for so long that it's continuing it's wasting money not being released. So they have to make so much for them to consider it a success. Right. Also, you got the fact that they know how to like read like the chatter online. They know how to like analyze that. And they know that there's not a lot of people excited for this movie. Nobody's saying that Marvel can't still make good stuff. Werewolf by Night came out last year. Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. Guardians 3. I love those movies. There's still things that they're making that I like. But when, you know, let's say you got a job, you're making $250,000 a year. You got 2 houses, you got multiple cars, you got vacations, you get all this stuff, right? You get all this money, but you get all this stuff that you're consistently having to pay for. All of a sudden, you go from $250K to $100K. To a lot of people, to me, $100K a year would be fan-frickin-tastic. But if I was used to $250K a year, I would be like freaking out. Like, we got to cut some things. We got to slow some stuff down. I think that's what's happening to Marvel right now is they're realizing we're spending more than we're being able to reap, I guess. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And I do want to address something Average Comics Joe said. No, MCU is not like the Dallas Cowboys. The DCU is like the Dallas Cowboys, okay? Because the MCU has been successful in the past. The DCU has not. And when you look at Dallas, it's not about losing one game. It's about 25 years since you all been in the Super Bowl, my friend.
I'll tell you what, dude. Yeah, another good analogy there would be like Cowboys fans are like, no, we were good like 20 years ago when Christopher Reeve was doing Superman movies and Michael Keaton was doing Batman movies.
So we're going to try to bring, it's like, you know, when they brought Michael Keaton back, it's like, we're going to bring Troy Aikman back. It'll be all right.
That's the key.
and Smith, are you busy, bud? We can use you. So you know, all joking aside, let me tell you something. It's not like the movies are, ooh, I can't watch it kind of movies. Not saying that at all, I don't think. But I agree with Robbie, that kind of hoopla, that kind of anticipation, the kind of, you know, gotta see it kind of feeling is gone. You know, oh, it's good, I'll watch it when it's streaming kind of thing. It's turned into that. And I agree with Rob. So from that perspective, if you're making X and then all of a sudden one day you're making X minus 1, doesn't matter what X is. Today it's -1. That's a problem, right? So they've put themselves in this position where they were just making money hand over fist that they could just throw Avengers. Doesn't matter. It's gonna you know, blow the box office apart. Now it's not happening. So the initial reaction is, well, if it's not happening, put more out there. Okay, what we're losing in sales will make up in quantity. So that's not working. So now what do you do? Don't know.
There was like a book that just recently came out where they revealed a lot of stuff about the behind the scenes stuff, and we've been talking about this as well. But when Iger left and Bob Chapek, right, when he came in, right, he like put a lot of like systems in place between Kevin Feige and himself. Right. So Kevin Feige has always been like the last decision maker at Marvel Studios, right? Like basically it was his vision and all that stuff. He answered directly to a dude right below Bob Iger. It was like one person between him and him. And it was like the guy in charge of something, whatever. But basically what happened was Chapek and others started making decisions that Feige had no control over, including pumping out too much content. He said, and this was quoted in that Variety article, I believe, or in the book one, where it was quoted of him saying, there is never going to be a lull. There will always be a movie out or a Marvel show going on. And at first, like with WandaVision, like we built up to that. And that became an event. Same thing with Loki. But then the more shows that came out, think about it. Like, notice how everybody, like, for instance, me and a lot of YouTubers, everybody was doing like weekly shows. Let's gather and talk about the new episode, right? A lot of people stopped doing that because it was just like kind of got bored. That fatigue started hitting. In particular, I would say Hawkeye, Moon Knight, She-Hulk is where it really started people going, I don't know. Yeah. And then I don't think the movies really helped it either. People were waiting for that next thread to tie it together. And it kind of felt a little all over the place, throwing spaghetti at the wall like they didn't have a definitive plan to begin with after they wrapped up the Thanos saga.
Yeah, I right now don't think they know what direction to take, okay? I'm sure that when Chapek was in charge and he did that restructuring, taking a little bit of responsibility away from Feige, I think that obviously we're living it now, right? But I don't know the way back. I really don't. I don't know what they can do at this point to turn this around.
All right. Well, that was good. Well, that was actually going to be the next question I asked you, Rex. Was let's say Kevin Feige calls you up. He wants to go get some food with you. He wants to go to Wawa and get a gobbler with you. He wants some advice. You would have nothing to tell him?
I would tell him make Blade, okay? Make it to be independent, all right? So that you can notch one of your in your belt in this new age. But beyond that, pull back, which I think he would agree with. But then you got the execs and the bean counters who don't necessarily want you to pull back. So I think that's going to be a challenge. And where do you pull back? I don't know that either. Say, so in a strange sort of way, thank you, Marcus. So in a strange sort of way, it probably wouldn't hurt him to talk to James Gunn, because James Gunn came into this during a period where this kind of fatigue and kind of oversaturation already existed. Okay, Feige didn't come in there during that period, did he? It was all open road for him when he came in, and he could methodically plan it out. Now he's had that disruption. You've had all this MCU stuff come out. You've had a lot of push from DCU trying to revamp themselves. So only adding to that fatigue, I think. KG, I like Loki season 2 because it has a kind of independent feel to it. And so I kind of like it. And I don't watch it looking for its tie into anything else. I appreciate it for what it is. And I enjoyed the first season. And so far, I got to say, I'm a fan of season 2. But
I haven't even actually watched any of it. Oh, and the other thing that happened this year was their lowest rated show of all time, Secret Invasion. That was another thing that I don't think I've met anybody who says they like that show overall.
You see, an average comics show, I disagree, man. I think you can get away with an R rating, okay, or PG-13. It's reestablishing that you made a good movie. I really believe that. It worked for the first Blade. There's no reason why it wouldn't work for this one.
Honestly, if you look at the first Blade movie, if you just took out some of the harsh language and some of the sexual like references and stuff, like that could easily be a PG-13 movie by today's standards, especially, for sure.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. What was that movie? Vampire movie with oh my gosh, Lost Boys, was that it?
From the 80s by Joel Schumacher?
Yeah. So look at it
with Kiefer Sutherland.
Sutherland.
Yeah.
The two guys who had the first same first name.
The Coreys, Corey Haim and Corey Feldman, man.
And Corey Feldman, right?
Yep. And Jason Patrick. Oh man, Alex Winter. I cry, little sister.
Yeah. Look at that movie. That movie, everybody that was in that movie was a star to the young audience, and they turned it into this edgy. Who was the female character? She was another one that was part of that Brat Pack during that period. So it really appealed to a younger crowd, and they got away with it. So I believe that Blade could have had that same kind of success. I agree with figure drawing. It doesn't necessarily have to be gory, okay? Not in that sense. It can be, but the writing is very important. And if they star, that's right, OUG, Jamie Gertz, that's right, correct. But if they if it's Blade walking through the multiverse again, oh my God, come on, man. You know, something different, please.
Yeah, okay? That's not what we want to see. None of us here, I'm sure.
The whole vampire underworld that exists. I mean, there's so many things you can do with that. I feel like that would make it a great standalone film.
Yeah, I agree. I'm really pumped to see a Blade movie. I just hope they do it, and I hope they do it right.
It doesn't sound like they're right now.
I hope they get it back on track. You know, obviously with all this news out there, I mean, there's got to be conversations going on right now. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure Kevin right now is watching this show, taking notes, Rex.
I am almost certain that is not happening. I would cash in everything I own to bet on that.
Yeah, well, he should, because we got it all figured out here. No. Rex, thank you for this conversation, man. I know it's something we kind of talk about a lot, but they just keep giving it to us, man. They keep serving it up, man. We're going to keep knocking them down, bro. That's what happens. What's coming up for y'all, man?
All right. So tonight, Nick's going to be on the Experience at 7 p.m. Eastern with a lot of original art. Stuff that's going to be super affordable, like $100. And then, of course, you know, the rare key stuff that's going to be a bit more. But it's always a great time. You know, tons of art, a lot of the art Nick has a story behind. So a lot of it comes from his personal collection. So you want to tune in if you love original art. Me, Robbie, and John will be back on Monday on the Experience at 7 p.m. or 6 p.m. Eastern for our normal 2-hour Comic Collectibles show. So how about you, bud? What you got coming up?
Oh, not much. It's going to be a light weekend. I'll be going live Sunday night for Rockin Robbie Live. No PCP movie night this week. We're taking our post-Horror Fest break, but we will be returning after that with Van Damme November. We're going to be talking about Bloodsport. Then we're going to be talking about Kickboxer. And then we're going to be talking about the winner of the Van Damme movie poll, which is active right now in our PCP Army Facebook group. And it seems pretty clear that Universal Soldier is going to be the victor there because it is winning in a landslide victory right now.
Have you heard the recent rumor that Jean-Claude Van Damme was quoted as saying that they were offered, I forget how much, like $1 bajillion, but to fight Steven Seagal, both of them were. And Steven Seagal backed out. I don't know if it's true or not, but I read
probably because Steven Seagal didn't want to get his ass kicked.
That's a lot of money, dude. I will put it to you. I would, for the amount of money he mentioned, something like $20 million a piece. I would happily get my ass kicked by Jean-Claude Van Damme and Steven Seagal at the same time, dude. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of coin right there.
I'd at least allow a noogie or something like that. All right. Everybody, thank you for joining us. Let us know what you feel if you're watching this on the replay in the comments below.